he didn't plan to be anyone's hero that night. He was just a tired man who had finished another late shift, heading home with aching feet and a half-eaten sandwich in his hand. But fate doesn't always ask if you're ready. Sometimes it drags you right into a moment that will define who you truly are. Before we start this story, take a deep breath, because what you're about to hear will shake you. And if by the end you feel something move inside your chest, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Not for me, but for every person who still believes there's good left in this world, because this story proves it. It all began on a rainy Thursday night in Chicago. The city was half asleep, streets glistening under the reflection of flickering streetlights. Inside a luxury corporate building downtown, the last few employees were wrapping up their shifts. Among them was Evelyn Grant, a woman who had climbed every step of the ladder with grit, pain, and sleepless nights. She was the CEO of a rapidly rising tech firm known for her intelligence and iron will. But that night, even iron can bend. Evelyn had stayed late to finalize a project proposal worth millions. Everyone had already left except two men from the finance department, Reed and Carter, who had lingered around under the pretense of finishing their reports. Evelyn didn't pay them much attention at first. She was used to being surrounded by men who underestimated her. She had faced whispers, smirks, and sabotage before, but she never let it break her. But that night, something felt wrong. As she gathered her papers and shut down her laptop, Reed locked the main door, pretending to be helpful. Carter smiled in that uncomfortable way that made the air heavy. Evelyn felt the tension in her chest rise, but she brushed it off and stood to leave. When she tried to open the hallway door, it wouldn't budge. That's when fear truly began to set in. "Hey, where do you think you're going?" Reed said, his voice low and mocking. Evelyn turned slowly. "Home. Like everyone else." "Come on, Evelyn," Carter sneered. "You've been treating us like nobodies for months. Maybe we should talk about it." Her heart began to pound. "Step aside," she ordered. But her voice cracked. They moved closer, trapping her against the wall. She darted into the nearest room, the restroom, and slammed the door shut, locking it. Her hands shook as she fumbled for her phone, only to realize she'd left it charging at her desk. Inside the silence, she could hear them laughing outside, taunting, threatening. The lock rattled. Tears burned in her eyes as she pushed herself against the door. For all her power, all her achievements, in that moment she felt small, cornered, helpless. She prayed for anyone to walk in. And someone did. Michael Carter, a single father who worked nights as a janitor in the same building, had returned to grab his forgotten keys. He was an ordinary man, no suit, no power, no title. Just a father trying to raise his little girl, Sophie, after losing his wife 2 years earlier. Life had hardened him, but it hadn't killed his heart. As he walked down the hallway, he heard the muffled sound of a woman's voice, the sound of something being forced, and laughter that didn't belong in a place of safety. Instinct took over. Michael dropped his coffee and sprinted toward the sound. When he turned the corner, he saw Reed and Carter pounding on the restroom door. The sight made his blood boil. Without hesitation, he stormed forward. "Hey," he shouted, his voice echoing. "What the hell are you two doing?" The men froze, startled. "None of your business, janitor," Carter snapped. But Michael didn't stop. He walked straight toward them, his jaw tight, his fists clenched. He had seen too much ugliness in his life, people ignoring what's wrong because it wasn't their problem. But tonight, this was his problem. "Step away from the door," he said. When they laughed again, he didn't wait. Years of suppressed anger and exhaustion erupted. Michael grabbed Reed by the collar and slammed him against the wall. Carter swung, but Michael ducked and hit him back hard enough to send him crashing into the mirror. The sound shattered through the hallway. Evelyn, trembling inside, heard the commotion and slowly unlocked the door. When she opened it, she saw the man standing there, chest heaving, two attackers on the ground, and broken glass around them. For a long moment, she couldn't speak. Michael turned to her, his voice gentle now. "You okay, ma'am?" She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. You just saved my life." Security arrived minutes later, and the two men were arrested. But what came next would change both their lives in ways neither could have imagined. The next morning, the company board learned of what had happened. News spread like wildfire through the building. Some whispered about how the CEO had been attacked, others praised the janitor who had stepped in. But when Evelyn walked into the office the next day, she wasn't the same woman anymore. She found Michael again, this time not in a janitor's uniform, but sitting quietly in the HR office, unsure of what would happen next. When she saw him, she smiled. "You have a daughter, right?" she asked softly. He nodded. "Yeah. Sophie. She's everything to me." Evelyn took a deep breath and slid a document across the table. "How would you feel about managing building operations? Full-time, better pay, benefits. You deserve that much." Michael stared at her in disbelief. "Ma'am. I don't know what to say." "Just say yes," she smiled. "Because good men like you, there aren't many left." He accepted, quietly holding back tears. Weeks later, Evelyn visited Michael's home. His little girl ran to greet her with drawings and laughter, completely unaware of what her father had done. Evelyn sat down with them, feeling something she hadn't felt in years: peace. That night, when Michael walked her to her car, she said something that stuck with him forever. "You didn't just save me," she said softly. "You reminded me that strength doesn't always wear a suit. Sometimes, it wears a name tag and carries a mop. But it still saves lives." And that's what this story is about. It's not about a CEO or a hero, it's about humanity. About standing up when no one else will. If you've ever doubted that one person can make a difference, remember Michael. Remember that courage doesn't come from power, it comes from choice. And if this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to our channel. Because out there, someone might be waiting for a reminder that good people still exist and you can be the one to give it. Because heroes, they're not born. They're made in moments just like this.